There can no longer be any doubt that human behaviour is changing the planet and threatening life as we know it. If humanity is going to have a future as long as it's past, then we need to change our behaviour. But what do we need to change, and how can we change it without making the same mistakes in the future as we made in the past? That's what this channel is all about. And this episode will begin with looking at where we are today and how we got there. Humans share a common ancestor with the great apes, and we are the most complex species on Earth. We are the complex ape. Life has existed on Earth for about 4 billion years, ever since it emerged from a boiling cauldron of interacting chemicals. Of that time, humans have been here for about 3 million years, and the basic human characteristics of a large brain, an opposable thumb, walking upright, and a nearly hairless body have been with us throughout that time. It is estimated that there have been around 20 different species of humans, and our species, Homo sapiens, the wise human, has only been on Earth for about 200,000 years. All the other human species, just like 99% of all species that have ever existed, are now extinct. Humans have never lived alone. We have always shared our environments with a wide variety of other species. Our physical and behavioural characteristics have evolved, and we have adapted to suit every environment on the planet. Humans are the most adaptable species of all. Biologically, Homo sapiens is not very different than it was 200,000 years ago, although we do continue to evolve in small ways. Individually, we are no smarter than we ever were, and physically our bodies can do nothing that humans have not always been able to do. But life for humans today is very different than it was for most of that 200,000 years. For most of that time, sapiens had lived in small, isolated groups of up to 40 or 50 individuals in the same way as our ancestors always had. All humans have always lived in groups. We are social animals and we depend upon each other. Our individual physical and behavioural characteristics are relatively weak and make us vulnerable. Our survival depends upon our ability to communicate and cooperate and collaborate. It depends on our collective knowledge, imagination, and ingenuity. It is living as groups that has enabled us to survive as a species. For 200,000 years, humans scraped a living as hunter-gatherers or foragers, exactly the same way that all our ancestors always had done. Foraging was our food production system. Population rose and fell throughout that period, and on several occasions were very low and close to extinction. Around 70,000 years ago, the population was estimated to be about 2,000, and the species was very near to extinction. It's possible that humans are the way we are today because we are the descendants of those last 2,000 humans, who were the most ingenious, the most imaginative, and the most adaptable of all. Around 12,000 years ago, there was a particularly significant event. Humans began to change their lifestyle and live in small communities rather than wandering around in groups. As a result, a population which had ebbed and flowed and never been bigger than 1 million began to grow slowly but steadily. Other significant events followed from this, and each one led to an acceleration in the speed of population growth, until today, when the population has reached almost 8 billion. The rise in numbers was the result of cultural evolution rather than biological evolution. Culture is the behaviour of human groups. As groups have new ideas and do things differently, so their culture evolves. It's a slow process, but can be much quicker than biological evolution. We tend to talk about cultural evolution in terms of revolution. The agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, the scientific revolution, and the information revolution. But these aren't quick revolutions. Cultural revolutions last for some considerable time. Humans have slowly and continuously evolved their culture throughout time. It's just that there have been periods when that cultural evolution has speeded up, usually as a result of some significant change in technology, and it is those periods which we identify as cultural revolutions. Those technological advances have included the control of fire, the use of stone tools and then metal tools, the invention of the wheel and the plough, the emergence of writing, and then the invention of the printing press, the use of glass lenses in microscopes and telescopes, the discovery of vaccines and antibiotics, and the invention of the computer. The change which happened around 12,000 years ago was triggered by a change in the climate. Humans progressively altered their food production system from one of foraging to one of farming. It wasn't that they didn't know how to do farming previously. It was just that foraging was the more productive system. The change in the climate put farming on an equal footing to foraging as a food production system. Farming began to dominate as the food production system in some areas of the world, and humans congregated in those areas and began to form the first of modern societies. Freedom from the daily grind of foraging for food allowed humans to increase their knowledge of the world around them, and to make use of that knowledge to begin to control and modify the environment rather than adapting to the environment. This gave rise to the conditions which allowed all future cultural revolutions to happen. This whole process of revolution after revolution is cultural evolution, continuous change in collective human behaviour. All human behaviour is the result of biological evolution, that which we are born to do, and cultural evolution, that which we learn to do. It's the nature versus nurture distinction. Humans are an integral part of every important system in the world, and our behaviour has a significant impact on the performance of every one of those systems. Ecosystems are complex and adaptive, and even minor changes in complex systems can lead to unforeseen consequences, unwanted side effects, and good or bad emergent characteristics. We are slowly beginning to accept that cultural evolution and human behaviour has a significant impact on our delicate ecosystems. We are at last taking action in areas such as pollution, air quality, deforestation and climate control. Whether those actions will be large enough and fast enough to prevent catastrophic collapse of the ecosystems as we know them Only time will tell. All this action is necessary and welcome, but on its own it is not enough. It addresses the symptoms of human activity rather than the causes. The cause is culture change, and the solution is culture change. A change in human behaviour that results in sustainable ecosystems. We need a sustainability revolution. We should also do our best to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past and changing behaviour without understanding the consequences and potential side effects. We can do that by modelling systems and synthesising the impact of changes and interventions before we make those changes in the real world. Behaviour is not easy to change, and when individuals and groups mature, they become very resistant. It is far easier to develop the right behaviours in the first place, and we should be focusing our attention on our children and their education. In this episode, we've looked briefly at a wide range of topics. We've identified the need to change behaviour and also the need to model those changes before we implement them. To answer the big questions, we will need to understand each of those topics in much greater detail, and that is exactly what we'll be doing in future episodes. If you want to join in, don't forget to subscribe.